Good evening. This is the Penfield Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on February 16th, 2021. I'm Barbara Power. I'm the president, and we have most of our members here tonight, and we have two special guests. So welcome to members. It's nice to see all of you, as well as our library director and our library secretary. And I would like to call the meeting to order. And the first thing we have is the minutes from our last meeting. Did everyone have a chance to read those? Bless you, bless you. And does someone want to move that we accept the minutes?
I'll move.
Thanks, Niraj. Is there a second?
I second.
Thanks, Judy. We'll get you next time, Jennifer. Thank you very much. And now, Niraj, would you like to give the financial report?
Sure. I'll start with the monthly balance sheet. That's the portrait schedule that you see over there. The beginning balance is the 1.11 budget, operating budget. It's reduced by the expenditures this month, so it leaves kind of like how much we have left to spend for the rest of the year. The gift and memorial fund, there's a threshold of $140,000. The current value is $166,000, and it's largely unchanged from last month. The budget summary, if we move to the page with the small font, the February 2021 budget summary. This is the first month of the year, so it represents about 8% of the year. So if you look at the last column, if you see like 8% is like a good marker. Revenues, the largest line item is under real property taxes. This budget was 1.81 that was approved by the town. The actuals haven't populated yet. So we'll look at that next month to see how it's coming in. Other line items, smaller line items are copier, interest, income, and state aid. The expense portion is where we like to spend a bit more time. If we go right down to the total expenses, that'll give us a good idea of where we are. Total expenses is coming in at 8.2%. That's right in line with our budget at this point. The largest component, over 50% of our budget, is wages and salaries. And that is coming in at about 5%. So that's a favorable variance. The second largest controllable expense is materials. That's at 3.4%. So that's another favorable variance. The contractual expense is the last major controllable expense, and that's at 2.3. Less controllable expenses at this time are the ones at the bottom, which are benefits. So like state retirement, Social Security, workers' compensation, disability insurance, and medical insurance. We're a little over on that, but that should be okay at the end of the year. That's how it usually is. In conclusion, this is a good month. Our total expenses are coming in right in line with the budget, the controllable expenses. That's about it. And then our asset breakdown, if you look at the next page that I have, that shows where our $166,000 are. You can see it's between Family First and Canandaigua. The last thing, I don't know when you want to do this, but I do need guidance on how we want to move with that $45,000 CD maturing in March. So maybe now or later, I'm not sure when you want to do that.
We could do that now, or we could do that when we do committee reports.
Okay, let's do it committee reports. That way our guest speaker can like check out.
Yes, because sometimes our discussions can be a little tedious. I mean, other people's business meetings sometimes are. Well, we have with us this evening Adam Traub, who is the Assistant Director of the Monroe County Library System. And this is a wonderful thing for us. We have 3 new trustees who just started in January, and we have 2 trustees who started last year. So we're looking forward to having you tell us about the relationship between our library as an individual unit and the Monroe County Library System, or MCLS, as Buddy refers to it as. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. And we have put this in the public comment part. We don't expect anybody to be here because the meetings are on Zoom. If anyone has any comments or questions for the board, please send them to ppltrustees@yahoo.com. And I'll repeat that again at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Adam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Barbara, so much. And thank you, Barbara and Bunny, for inviting me tonight. So I'll let you all know, first of all, you can probably tell I'm calling in from home. And I have one very antsy dog who expects dinner at 7 o'clock, and she's just going to have to wait. So apologies if you hear some doggy interruptions. So thanks again for having me. If I'm looking to my left, I'm just reading my notes because I have a webcam on my laptop, but unfortunately I can't see that on this tiny little screen. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you all can see my slides. Are you seeing that all right?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone. So again, I am Adam Traub. I'm the Associate Director of the Monroe County Library System. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview today because I know you have a lot to get through in your meeting. So I'm just going to really focus on one aspect of this training that I normally give. So that's going to be really, what's the system and what does it do? So MCLS is a library system. There are the entire state is covered by this network of library systems, and our sole purpose is to support member libraries, specifically public libraries, in our service area. Now you can see, system service areas range from ours, which is just one county, to things like the North Country, which is spread out over a vast rural region. As well as you have some more specific and even smaller geographic ones down in New York City. So our library system is created by the Board of Supervisors of our county. We, much like you, have to have a plan of service or a long-range plan to receive state funds. You all are probably familiar with the minimum standards that your library has to meet, things like hours open, a qualified director, that kind of thing. Similarly, we have our own minimum standards that the system has to meet. Our budget is approved by the county legislature, so Monroe County, and our system board of trustees is appointed by the county. Member libraries, there's the best way I can refer to this is there's no reporting relationship between Bunny and I, for example, right? Member libraries are autonomous and really have their own boards like yourself, and also join the system more or less by choice. I come from an academic background. I spent 15 years in academic libraries. And the way I think of it is kind of this state-created consortium of public libraries in Monroe County. Now, in Monroe County, we have 20 independent member libraries, each with its own board of trustees and different funding streams. And of the 4 types of public libraries, those of you who are familiar with the trustee handbook know there's 4 main types of public libraries in New York. 3 are represented in MCLS. There's municipal public libraries like Penfield, like Rochester. There are association libraries, which are kind of, if I had to paint a spectrum, they're not quite municipal libraries. They're closer to what I might call like a nonprofit or a 501c3, although they usually have a very close relationship with their municipality or municipalities that they serve, at least in Monroe County. And then there is one school district library in Monroe County, and that is Fairport. each have their own kind of unique features. And there is a nice breakdown both in the Green Trustee Handbook that I'm sure all of you have. If not, I can always get you one. But also on the State Library website, if you're interested in kind of what really makes the differences between those libraries. Now, of the 20 members, we have 32 library locations, including 10 city branches, and of course, the Central Library in downtown, the Rundle and Bausch and Lomb buildings, which is where I work. By the way, I should let you all know, I'm a very informal type of person. If you have any questions, if I say an acronym or something you don't understand, please stop me and ask those questions. Feel free at any time. So, what is it the system does? What do we do? Well, the system provides, one of the main functions that we provide is what the online catalog. You all probably know Carl or our catalog. It's one of the things that systems are meant to provide, which is used to be known as a union catalog. It's a catalog of shared holdings across our entire system. Similarly, and this is a really neat feature that systems provide, we provide outreach services. Outreach services, the word outreach in library land means a couple of different things, and I'm referring to a very specific type of outreach. And outreach services that the system provides are services to patrons who can't get to the library. Perhaps they can't leave their home independently. Maybe they're in a assisted living facility or they're incarcerated. Our services, our outreach services, are to provide library services to those who can't get to us. Now, obviously, the pandemic has put a bit of a damper on that, but we have been working really hard to be able to try and continue to provide some level of remote services to those patrons who can't come and see us. It's a really neat feature that systems provide, and I'm really kind of proud to be a part of a team that does that. Similarly, we inform, administer, and assist member libraries with grant administration and assistance. This is usually the form of state aid or construction aid. We provide a direct access plan. This is a very, it's kind of an interesting thing in Monroe County, but the basic idea of a direct access plan is to make sure that anybody who lives in the system service area, even if they live outside of any other library service area, that they can still receive library services. Now, there's a little cognitive dissonance in Monroe County because there's almost no place in Monroe County that doesn't have a library that's not covered by a library service area. In fact, there is something we call, and Bunny, you may know this better than I, but the Parenton strip. I think it's a strip of 31F that technically falls outside of Pittsburgh service area, outside of Fairport service area, and outside of East Rochester service area. It's about a mile long, but the cool thing about the Monroe County library system is that a long time ago, we came up with this idea of one county, one card. So it doesn't matter where you live in Monroe County, you are a patron to every library in Monroe County library system. So it doesn't make as much sense in Monroe County, perhaps in the North Country or Clinton, Essex, where people are spread out and libraries are spread out a bit more. That direct access plan is really important. In our case, we've already kind of embraced this one county, one card idea, but it is kind of there as kind of a reassurance that everyone that lives in Monroe County deserves library services. Similarly, one of the really cool things about Monroe County is there is quite literally a line of fiber optic cable going from the Rundle building downtown to your library and to every public library in Monroe County. It's a really cool innovation that the library system set up a while ago to find a way to save members a lot of money on internet service. So we provide basically the hub, or you could think of us as basically your internet service provider for your library. Similarly, we provide email. We provide a base email address for anybody, any member library who wants to take advantage of it. We also provide technical support. We provide, and many of you are probably familiar with our trucks, 5-day-a-week delivery. So any books that you may need from, let's say, Hamlin, will get to you. And similarly, any books that you have to return that have to go out to Scottsville, our trucks will take for you. We also provide consulting and training. Frequently, member libraries will approach me if they're looking for a new director or if there's a question on an annual report, those kind of things. Similarly, we provide some collective purchasing. You're probably familiar with Overdrive or Libby. The system pays the platform fee so that none of the members have to do that or duplicate that, so that they can focus their digital purchases on the actual content instead of the platform. And then, and this is something that's really topical right now, is we provide advocacy. So I schedule, and some of you may have joined us for some of these meetings, we schedule meetings with our local elected officials. It's mostly our state elected officials, so that we can advocate for library funding on our members' behalf. So you may have received an email not too long ago from Alicia Gunther inviting you to take part in Advocacy Day, which is a week from this Friday. If you've never done it before, it's a really interesting thing. This year, it's going to be a little different. We're not going to Albany, but you can join. You don't need to speak at all if you don't want to, if you just want to come and observe. But it's really important for us to be able to advocate for libraries, because ultimately it's the state that provides the largest component of our funding. So this is a brief overview of our library system budget, basically about how our expenditures break down. Yeah, I'm sorry, Niraj. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Niraj. You mentioned on the last slide, grant administration assistance.
Mhm.
How does a member library access that? Because we're always looking for money, or I don't even know where to start or something. Is it normally a trustee level request, or is it a director, a library director request? How does that stuff happen?
Yeah. So most of the grants that I'm calling here are mostly state aid, and
Mhm.
usually the director will reach out if they have a project, or there's some of it that just we call pass-through aid. It's the state aid that you actually mentioned in your financial report that passes through the system directly to you. So that one, there's almost no action to take aside from the board accepting that state aid, right?
Right.
But then there's cool things like construction money. So we have construction grants that the state provides, and it's the system's responsibility to basically parcel that out to members after they've applied. So the director, for example, may have an idea in mind and will put together an application for construction. And then the system and actually Bunny has assisted the system for a long time in helping select those projects, because she's got such a rich depth history with the system. So usually it's the director working with the system to try and find state funding for various projects.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thanks for the question. So back to our budget. So for example, I'll start just because we were on the topic of state aid there. We have some mandated services that the system has to provide. So first and foremost is that pass-through money I just mentioned that goes through from the state, comes to us, and then we disperse it to our members. We also have to provide state reports. You all are probably in the midst of your annual reporting process right now. We provide assistance, and we're also the kind of like the line of first edits before it goes to the state for their review and approval. Again, there's those construction grants I mentioned. Those are always kind of fun. So for example, Chili's building a brand new library and facility. This year, unfortunately, the governor had cut our budget pretty significantly. So the amount we've been able to spend or share among the 20 member libraries is pretty low this year, but we're out there advocating to try and get that money restored. We have that plan of service, that long range plan, or that modified strategic plan, I call it. And then those outreach services. So that's about 26% of our budget. 10% of it is on what we call member support. So this is providing IT services for our smaller members. Many of our smaller libraries only have maybe 2 or 3 staff members, don't really have enough volume to be able to have their own IT staff. So we provide support there, kind of that, rising tides analogy. We also provide, as I'm doing right now, trustee and staff training and development. There's those state grants that I mentioned. And then governance and committee management. So this is really trying to help people work through thorny issues sometimes, and trying to provide some support there. Integrated library system, or our catalog, or CARL, is about 21% of that. Similarly, we've got our shipping and delivery. Those trucks got to fuel themselves, can't fuel themselves and drive themselves yet. So we've got a really nice, great shipping team. We've got some administrative and facilities because we actually live in the Rochester Public Library. Obviously we have that IT network that supports the internet connection from your library to the greater world, our website, our shared website, our e-portal, email, etc. One of the cool things that you'll notice down here is that internet, that federal E-rate reimbursement, that project that I mentioned where we provide, like, we're basically your internet service provider. We've been able to save members almost $500,000 in 1 year. And that doesn't count staff time required for each library to file for E-rate on their own. And we've got some really cool projects coming out of that going forward. I'm going to skip over this because I know that you've got a lot to get to, but basically there's a lot of state aid at play. A good chunk of it goes to the system, but the one that I really want to highlight is that local library services aid and some of the basic aid that comes through the system directly to your library. Now, I know I'm running, I don't want to run too long. So I normally include in this training a large portion of time on being able to orient new trustees, work through things. But the thing I really want to highlight with a shortened abbreviated time is the Handbook for Library Trustees. So this green book is a really great resource for trustees, both seasoned and new alike. The 2018 edition is the current edition. There's not a newer one being created just yet. But it includes for you a handbook, the Library Bill of Rights, minimum standards that your library has to adhere to remain chartered by the state, freedom to read, the New York Civil Practice Law. If you all aren't familiar, there's actually a law on the books in New York State that guards our patrons' privacy. There's a library trustee job description for maybe when you're trying to recruit new board members. The roles and responsibilities of a trustee, of a library director, of staff. I don't know all of your backgrounds, but in library land, we have a ton of acronyms. I'm sure you all do too. There's a list of those helpful acronyms in that handbook and a lot more. So I just wanted to kind of mention that, as well as a couple of other trustee resources. So the biggest one is Helping All Trustees Succeed, or HATS. It's a series of webinars that goes really in depth about some of the topics I've covered, as well as some of the duties of a trustee and how boards function with their public library, as well as ways to connect with trustees across the state through the Library Trustees Association, which is now part of NYLA, the New York Library Association, as well as ALA's I Love Libraries initiative. Excuse me. And I know I'm going through this rapid fire for y'all. So really what I want to do is make sure that you know that we're a resource for you. The system is here to support its member libraries, and really that includes its board members. So if you all have questions about how something's working or whatnot, you can work with your director or reach out to us directly to try and figure out some of these issues. Excuse me. So again, my name's Adam Traub. I'm the Associate Director of the Monroe County Library System. My contact information is on here, but Bunny's got it on speed dial, I know. And as well as Alicia Gunther, she's our MCLS librarian, and she helps out with a lot of things like Overdrive, helping out with annual reports, things like that. And she's actually been in the system longer than I have, and just a fantastic colleague. So I'm going to stop there because I know I did that really rapid fire. And I thought I'd just pause for any questions you all
have. I don't see any questions.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Barbara and Bunny, for having me. I hope you all have a great meeting, and I'm always happy to come out if you guys have any other topics you'd like to explore with me.
Well, thank you very much for taking your time, and thank your dog for us for being patient and waiting for its dinner. And it was really a wonderful presentation, and I think we all learned something. So thanks, Adam, and you have a good evening.
Fantastic. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Thanks. I don't know if we have any communications. I don't think we do. Linda, would you like to give the report from the town board?
Hi, everyone. Not much different than what I sent along for Bunny to express at the last meeting that I wasn't able to attend. I want to welcome our new members here tonight. I thought that was an excellent presentation, by the way. I learned some stuff too, and that was, it's really good with so many fresh faces here to hear from Adam as you did tonight. From the town standpoint, we've been, this will be the first week we haven't had our priorities and goals. We've been doing that for 4 weeks, talking to the different departments about what they want to achieve this year and what they've accomplished in the past year. And so that's all gone well. I really don't have anything new to report. If you have any questions or something you want to ask me about what's happening in the town or want me to get back to you on something, I'm happy to address that.
Does anyone have any questions for Linda? Well, we know where to find you, Linda, if questions do come up.
You do? Okay.
We have, this year, we talked at our last meeting about inviting one of the subject matter librarians to each meeting to talk about how they do their jobs, how they buy materials, how do they come up with programs, and something about their background so we can learn more about the library. And today we have Judy Carpenter with us, who's the senior children's librarian. And many of you probably have met her with your children yourselves. And when I moved to Penfield, my children were older, so we did not have the chance to work with Judy, but Judy, we'd like to hear from you this evening.
Well, first of all, I think you all know that I'm going to be retiring in March 31st. So, and I have worked at the Penfield Library for over 25 years. And I can honestly say that I have loved going to work every single day. My kids have always commented on that they wanted to end up with jobs that they loved as much as I love mine. So that was great. So let's see, I do so much at the library. A big thing is story time at the library because we want kids to love reading. And I hear from so many parents whose kids have gone through story times that their kids love books and love reading. And so that's what we hope for. And the sense of community, even now with virtual, we're still getting tons of people participating. So that makes me happy. And they miss the in-person, but they're so grateful that the library is still doing something. And that was a big learning curve, how to record yourself virtually, because, it's so different. So story time is a big thing, developing all kinds of programs, not just for preschoolers, but for all children from 0 to 5th grade. So my colleague and I will sit and just, think about what kind of programs we can do and develop them. Buying books. So at Penfield, all these years, I've bought the fiction books and the picture books, chapter books, readers, and graphic novels. And my colleague has bought the nonfiction because that's how it was set up. And, it's a good system. And I buy from Baker and Taylor using lots of reviews. And also kids will come in and say, "Oh, Mrs. Carpenter, I love this book. Will you look into getting it?" So we do hear from, if somebody says, "Oh, I love this series," and I'll look into it. And if there are good reviews and stuff, I'll buy it for the library. Every day is different. That's another great thing about the job, because we do reference on the reference desk, and then we just organize our day with what needs to be done. So I think that's about it. And setting up displays. So like right now we have President's Day and Black History Month, and winter we'll put up March 2nd is Dr. Seuss's birthday. So whenever there's something coming up, we try to have a display out there. And so the books circulate more. And we started 1,000 books before kindergarten, which has been really successful. And I must say that started because we heard other librarians at another library talking about it, and then myself and my assistants, we went out to Greece to talk to them and interview them and find out how to do it so we wouldn't reinvent the wheel. And then I think we're doing it even better. So I'm happy about that. So does anybody have any questions, or does that explain what I do?
How do you organize the summer reading program?
Oh yeah, so that's, I have to say, so when I first came, so 25 years ago, it maybe for the whole summer, we had like 300 children and no helpers. And then by the last time we were doing it in person, we had, close to 900 kids and 80 teenagers a week. So it's a little different now because of virtual. We're planning it now, but it's different because it's virtual. But normally we would hear what the New York State theme is. This year it's Tales for Tales, and come up with how our reading game board is going to be. Penfield, I think, is one of the few libraries that still has a big elaborate game, and organize our team of volunteers, almost all of whom, as Jennifer could say, almost all of them have been in story time with me. So it's wonderful. Once they're going into 7th grade, they can be helpers until they go to college. So the kids can't wait till they're old enough to be team volunteers. So we hear from the state what the theme is, and then we go from there.
So you develop your own board then?
Yes.
I was thinking it was like a system that you bought into.
No.
But
no,
how original are you?
Yeah, well,
and
we
creative.
come up with the ideas, but then we have amazing, talented colleagues that actually make the board. I'm not an artist, my husband is, but we have wonderful assistants that help create it, but we come up with the ideas and they put it, they create it.
Well, it's a great system and my grandsons love it. And they've been in it, I don't know, 5 years now, so.
Oh, now I know who you are. That's right. Yes, they do come. I know you bring them to a lot of programs. Right?
I do a lot, yes, we come.
Yeah.
Often.
Does anyone else have any questions for Judy? Niraj?
Thanks for your service. I didn't know that you were retiring next month, but thank you. We're gonna miss you.
Yes, well, I have totally I've loved being there, and I'm hoping Bunny said eventually I can be a sub there, so maybe you'll see me.
Well, thank you for spending this time with us, and I will second what Niraj said. We're going to miss you at the library, and wish you well.
Thank you, but I'm trying to leave
before you leave.
Oh yes, and also because I have a few months, I've been helping train Julie, who took Jen's place, just trying to show her everything that we do for summer reading, and even so, and I'll be around. I told her she can call me anytime because I have a lot of institutional knowledge from doing it for so long. So, I'll be able to help out from home. So
good.
I just want to jump in and say, obviously with COVID, everything has been a little different, but as a working mom, one of the things I always loved is that there were children's programs outside of Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, because that was something that was always so hard. You look and you're like, oh, my kid would love that, but I have to go to work and I can't do that. And so I always loved that the library had programs. I mean, I obviously, you know my daughter, and we did evening, preschool story time for years. And that was just so nice for me as a working mom to, be able to take advantage of those. And I think that's something Penfield's always done a great job with.
Oh, yes, that's very important.
If I can just say one more thank you, Judy. When we moved to Penfield, my girls were 3 and 6, and
oh my gosh,
you and Jennifer just welcomed them with open arms, and you made us feel like part of the community right away. So I hope that there is something before you retire that you'll need them again as your volunteers because they love working with you. So if
Oh, yeah, yeah.
when COVID is done and if there's any programs in the spring, keep them in mind.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just one more thank you from me too, that we've just loved coming to your programs. And lately we've been doing those little craft kits that you've been putting together, which have been so much fun to do and gives us something to do while we're home. But we've always, loved coming to story time with you and Jennifer. So, but we'll miss you.
Yes. Yes, I feel so grateful to have been there for so long. It's a great place to work.
My kids will miss you too. So thank you, Judy.
I feel so lucky. I know all of your children. It's so awesome.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. And obviously, we really appreciate everything you've done over the years at the library.
Yes, you'll see me again. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's see.
And now, after saying goodbye to Judy, we're on to some of the more exciting aspects of our meeting, like committee reports. So, Niraj, this is the time to discuss.
So I think I don't know if somebody moved to accept the financial reports.
No, we
before.
did not.
So can somebody move?
Jennifer, thank you. Is there a second? Denise, okay. Thank you.
So I don't know if you guys read my email. I just tried to kind of give a little background. My preference, so that we have $45,000 maturing. My preference is a strong preference to stagger CDs. So the 31,000 other CD is maturing in December 2022. So I think that we should consider either later in 2021 or even in 2023. But before we do that, I think the board should also think about, hey, if we need some cash to maybe subsidize maybe like a sign or something like that or whatever, then we might want to pull some money out or not. I'm not sure.
Niraj, we did that with the CD in December.
Okay, so then we're good.
$21,000 that was maturing. And we did it for two reasons. One was to have money for things like a sign. And the other was because at the time we got more interest from the money market account than we were getting from a CD.
Oh, wow. Okay, good.
So we have like 20-some thousand dollars in our money market account.
Okay.
So
we're good. So we're good. So then what I would think is maybe 2023 or just later 2021, and then we can revisit it.
I would say later 2021, and maybe Brett could weigh in on this, because I think that interest rates are really low now, and I hope by the end of the year they've gone back up.
Yeah.
Yeah, with interest rates being very low right now, it definitely makes sense to keep our duration very short here.
Yeah.
2021 makes a lot of sense, especially if interest rates do rise here. We might be able to have that CD mature and then capitalize later on with extending it out maybe to 2023 or 2024 at that point.
So do we want to, does the board want to give me direction?
Brett, would you like to make that into a motion?
Yeah, I motion that we invest that money into the CD for 2021.
Okay. And I'll keep it flexible for like to see if there's any special CD.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, I'm sorry to have interrupted.
No, I appreciate that. So I'll do that before next meeting, or I'll figure out how to do that.
Okay, personnel. Rachel, do you have anything you would like to talk about?
In the past 2 years, we've been sending out an employee satisfaction survey. So I'm going to get together with the committee, review that, make any minor tweaks to the questionnaire, and then Gail, could I get in contact with you about disseminating that to the staff? Okay, so we'll get that out to the staff, and then next month in our March meeting will be I'll be handing out Bunny's director's evaluation for the year. So I'll talk about that more next month, but that's what's coming in the future.
Okay, thank you. Melissa, with strategic planning, you have a couple of things to talk about tonight.
Sure. So the first thing, we had a meeting, Megan and Judy and I, to talk about the survey we were going to do. This was something that was going to go out last year at this time. Last year the survey was going to look at things like the physical structure of the building, and see if patrons thought there were any improvements that we should be making. But given the state of things right now, we decided that it's not a good time to do that, and we should look more at the programming. And we thought it would be a good idea to use this survey to collect some basic demographics on who's currently using the library and how they're using it. And also see if their usage has changed over the past year, given COVID. We thought we would ask questions about their level of satisfaction with things such as the computers, the space, the hours, customer service, and then programming. And let's see, what else? Am I forgetting anything, Megan or Judy? We want to keep the survey short. But again, just use it as an opportunity to see who's coming to the library now, under these circumstances, and then focus more on the programming and I guess how they're using the library.
Yeah, and I think in terms of looking at the programs, we were going to try and find out for the people who were utilizing the programs, how did they find out about what was happening? And if there are people who say that they didn't know that there were still programs going on, what would be the method of what would be the best way of letting them know about, upcoming programs and things like that.
Yeah.
Were you going to give an option, kind of asking if they've been utilizing programs at other libraries also?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm. That's something we could definitely include.
Yeah.
I think
Just out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
We also thought about reasons for why do you visit the library? Aside from coming in with your children or whatever, what other facilities in the library do you really make use of that you feel is important for you? We also talked about, can I jump in here? Is that okay, Melissa?
Sure. Yeah.
We also talked about how to disseminate this, either in-house, electronically. I looked on our Facebook page and I noticed that we have a lot of people that, like the library. So I thought, we also talked about doing, social media, but I looked into SurveyMonkey and I didn't know anything about SurveyMonkey other than I do take the surveys that come along my way. But so there's 3 different programs. There's a free program, but somebody needs to be the primary administrator of that.
Judy, can I interrupt you here?
Sure.
The town has a contract with SurveyMonkey, and I was talking to Dave Renner because I was saying it would be great to have a link to the survey on our website. Mm-hmm. And he said we should use SurveyMonkey and he could make that happen with the new survey.
Terrific.
Yeah, that's great.
So
that's good. We didn't know.
So
I didn't know.
Getting it out is going to be, I think putting something on Facebook saying we have a survey and here's the URL. and then going to different groups, like the parents of children who are homeschooled, and ask them to, here's a URL, going to some of the churches and asking them to put that in their bulletin, going to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and just saying, here's the URL, please go and fill out the survey. Because I think what we want to do is to get as many people as possible, especially since it's going to be, we don't have to compile them all ourselves.
The
Is
other
there-
thing we talked about were email lists. I know that the library, I think, has, an email, a master list of patrons. And I know the rec center also has a list. And I think they were willing back last year to share the link for us to their list of, I guess, residents that use the Penfield Rec Center. I think Bunny mentioned that we're not allowed to use the library's email list. Is that correct, Bunny?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I thought last year you said something about infringing on their privacy, or you didn't want to spam them or something.
No, I think for this purpose, it's fine. I don't know what context that other thing came up in, but
Okay.
I did want to check on that and be sure it was all right. I don't think there's a problem with it.
Oh,
Okay.
that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you guys have like an open-ended question too? Just so then it's an opportunity to maybe have patrons communicate any feedback about the library, just general feedback, so then we would know.
Yes, that was something we talked about. That the majority of the questions would be just, strongly agree, disagree, but then we would leave at least one at the end for
Right.
comments, just so we make it easier to sift through. But yes, we'll definitely include an open-ended question at the end. And so our next steps after our meeting, we said we would just sort of run this by you guys. We'll meet separately to come up with some questions that we think will be appropriate, and then we can either email them out to you before the next meeting to review. Does that sound okay to you guys?
Or you could email them before the next meeting, but we could talk about them at the next meeting when you actually
Okay.
have them. Because we're going to wait until the website is done for Dave to get this put together.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I'll reach out to Megan and Judy separately to find a time to get together and work on that.
Thank you, guys.
Melissa, I have one other idea for a way to get the survey URL into more people's hands. What about having like a little slip of paper that the circulation desk, after people check out their books, that they get with their receipt? That's, just because some people might not be on the email list, but they might just, pop in, and that might be a good person to hear their ideas from.
That's a great idea, Jennifer.
Is there a way to put that on the bottom of the receipt, Bunny?
I was just going to say, yeah, we can, depending on how long it is, we don't have a lot of characters that we can program into our receipt printers, but we might be able to put that on the bottom of the receipts.
Yeah, we had talked about doing some kind of a paper form to reach patrons that, aren't on social media. I think it would be nice if we could even have a poster somewhere with like a QR code that they can just scan, and it takes them right to the survey. And that's something that's usually pretty easy to put together.
I think having it on the bottom, like I get my receipt and I throw it away, so I don't read anything on it. So that's one thing, but maybe having like a fluorescent, if we really like a separate sheet, not a white sheet, like maybe a fluorescent red sheet or green sheet or something, and just request them just with the link or something. That I think that would, if it was on the receipt for me, then I wouldn't see it.
I think though, like when you go to a store,
Yes.
and they give you your receipt, if the
Right,
people
right.
at circulation circle it, point it out, and tell you
Yes,
about it.
They always
Yeah.
do that at the post office. They'll
Yeah.
go circle around it and say, tell us how we did.
Yeah.
The
But
other
still,
thing we had talked about too, I don't know how you guys all feel about this, but we said, could we offer an incentive? You know, if you fill out the survey, you're entered for a chance to win like a $25 Barnes and Noble gift card or Amazon gift card.
I think that's a great idea.
I think we should have something that is more library related. I think that the MCLS has things like mugs and book bags,
Okay.
and I think that might be.
We have a book bag too, right?
Yeah, we have those tote
We have
bags
them.
with our new logo.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that would be a great prize. Maybe we could have 5 winners.
Maybe it could be one of our library book bags filled with some books or
Yeah,
bookmarks,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
kind of gift
If
bag.
it, if it means anything, I throw away my post office receipt too. So,
Okay.
like right away.
Onto mine, because I'm always going to do the survey and enter into whatever the thing is, and then I wait a week or 2 and I dig it out of the bottom of my purse and then I throw it away. But I think that's a
Okay,
good
thank you.
idea, Melissa, to do the incentive.
Okay.
Thank you. And then
Thank
you
you.
have something else.
The signage,
Yes.
is that, okay, sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me. So I sent out the 2 quotes from Jim Costello for the exterior sign. Are we ready to vote on that, or?
Did everyone have a chance to look at the sign image that Melissa sent out? Do you feel comfortable voting on that?
So there were 2 quotes.
There were 2 quotes.
The higher one for 5,700, that was for the monument sign with some hardscaping. There was another quote for about, well, it was for 2,200, and that did not include any hardscaping. It would just be a freestanding sign.
What is who are we trying to reach with this sign, I guess? Are we trying to reach the people that are driving by or walking by? Or is it just a sign that's going to identify that here's the library?
Well, I think it's both. Right now, there's no really any identification on the building except for the word library. I don't think this sign is not going to be, it'll be lit, but it'll be by, I guess, little overhead lights, not, it won't be like glowing.
Spotlights shining up on it.
Yeah.
It'll be down lights.
So it will, I mean, I think it might draw a little more attention than the current sign that's by the road, just at least in the evening, but then it's more for when people pull into the parking lot that might not be familiar with the building to know that the library is up front and the rec center is in the back.
So where would it be placed again?
Well, the idea was to put it by the flagpole, but I think there were a few people that had some concerns about that from the town.
There's a concern about how they're going to plow.
Yeah, there was concern about snow plowing around.
They were especially concerned
Sidewalk.
when it had the uplights on it. And,
Right.
you know, the fact that they would get water in them and could short out and so forth. And I can see that being a problem. But the latest drawing I saw had it somewhere in the green space.
By the flagpole.
By the flagpole.
I like that. I like that because even if it's lit, it's well away from the street and we're close to residential, so it's not affecting. It wouldn't be placed near the street, and that I think that's important. So it's closer to the building, so it wouldn't affect our neighbors.
And it would also be off when the library is closed.
That's good too.
So when the library is closed and everybody's leaving a little after 9 or whenever they're leaving.
Yeah, that's good.
They will have the lights off. But the sign that's up there now lists the library, the rec center, the courts, and something else that are all in that building, but it's like gold lettering on dark brown
brown.
sign with green trim, and it's almost, unless you're right up there next to the sign looking at it, it's hard to read.
Right, and the words are so small. If you're driving
Mhm.
by, it's hard to read it.
It's not functional. In fact, it's you try to slow down and you're not supposed to slow down and all that stuff. So it's I think that it shouldn't have been like that.
Well, it's consistent with the town was going for a look, and it is consistent with the look and feel of the other signs, and tastes change and styles change. The one thing that this sign has going for it is that it is a big use of our logo, and whether or not somebody is close enough to read Penfield Public Library, they will see our logo and they will identify the library.
It's
Yeah,
a
I was
great
gonna
point.
mention that. I think this is a good opportunity to promote the new logo and work on our brand a little bit.
Correct. I like it.
Is everybody ready to vote?
I am.
And Melissa, would you like to make a motion to support one or the other of the designs? I mean,
I would move to go with the sign. I think it's by Sign Language for 5,700 with the hardscaping, just because the sign will be a little more elevated. So if we do get a foot of snow, it wouldn't be buried. So I move that we approve moving forward with a new exterior sign.
okay, and I see Rachel seconded that. You weren't quite fast enough, Niraj.
I know. I'll get there next time.
Okay, everyone in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. That is passed. If you want to talk to Jim Costello and tell him that we have approved that particular estimate, that will be good.
Yep, I'll reach out to Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your work on this, Melissa, and all your drawings where you've done renderings of the sign in different locations and so forth. So that's really helped us all a lot.
Should we also do the book drop sign? Well, I'm working with him on that. Should I get a quote for the book drop sign? Because that was something else we had talked about.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan, do you have anything with the policy? No, that's okay. You'll get a chance. And Denise and Jennifer, would you like to talk about Advocacy Day?
Sure. So Advocacy Day for the library is on Friday, February 26th. So that's next Friday. And Jennifer and I had bounced off a couple ideas after Barbara asked us to take a look into this. And we want to also see what you guys think. And then if anyone else has any more ideas of what we could do. There's a huge social media campaign that is going to be for Advocacy Day. So we kind of have thought of maybe we could, if everyone's okay with this, after the meeting, we could take a screenshot of all of us kind of waving in our little Brady Bunch, I call them, Zoom, and just kind of waving, and we can use the hashtag I think they're promoting this year, which is I am a library advocate. And if people wanted to share that on their social media next Friday to help get the word out, that would be great. And then Jennifer, do you want to talk about the petitions?
New York Library Association, NYLA, is put together a petition for, or one of the petitions was for school libraries, because one of the cuts or changes that the governor is looking to do pertains especially to school libraries changing their budget. But there is on the NYLA website under, and on the Online Advocacy Center, there is a place for that you can sign up to send a note to your state representatives. So that was something that we just kind of, I just brought up as an idea, do we want to, at least us do it, or send it out, or somehow make signage for the library to allow people to go to visit this site in order to sign up to just support the library. I didn't find a petition per se for the public library support, but there was place to where we could always share this link on our social media to for people to go to sign. It tells you what the changes are going to be, and then to go to just to send it a note to your representative. So I don't know, it's kind of done for you if you just use the link. I'd gotten it from my library program. That's how I had found it to begin with, but it's pretty easy. It's kind of hard with time to do anything bigger that we talked about, and especially with COVID, there's not going to be people. There are a couple of things that we thought about if people were in the library, but they're really not staying if they are, right, not hanging out because of COVID.
Yeah, maybe we could put the picture with that petition. I think, isn't the petition you just kind of go on and you just like put your name in and it kind of self-generates for you. So it's not anything complicated to get the word out, but maybe that could pair together to kind of let people know. And I want to ask Bunny, do you have any plans for the staff or any Advocacy Day activities?
No.
Okay.
If you go on the NYLA website, I mean, it has, who are you? And, we're trustees, so you can go on trustees or, and then it gives you ideas of things you can do to advocate for the library. So even just this, having that link is a great thing for people could do as much as or as little as they want.
We do have a letter we used to write, and I can send it to you guys, that we would send on behalf of the trustees, just urging we used to write to Mark Johns, urging them to continue the support of the library. So I can email that to you if you'd like, to tweak it a little bit.
I'm going to put this website that I was on. I'm just going to put it in the chat. So if any of you want to go to it at some point to
that would be great.
Does anyone have any other ideas that stick out that we could do? To kind of spread the word?
I think this year with COVID, everything seems to be somewhat limited, but if we could do something, I like the idea. And Brian, I hope you're paying attention and you'll take that photo of us at the end of the meeting. That would be great. Linda?
I was thinking what Melissa was saying about that letter that went out. You have two new state representatives, Jen Lunsford and Sam Mabrook. They don't know you. They're new. Maybe if you did a letter, but you talked a little bit about the Penfield Library and what it's about, some of the things it does, kind of advancement, advertising Penfield's public library. It might be helpful, especially this year, just because they're new. And it's reaching out to people you don't know that can be of help to you when it comes down to these budgets, when the library monies are always at stake. Just a thought.
I think that's a good thought.
Good idea.
Would you like to do that, Denise and Jennifer? Would you like to introduce our library to our new?
Sure.
Is there anything that Bunny you'd want us to highlight in the letter about the way we've used funding recently or in the past year or so?
Oh gosh, I'd have to think about it a little bit.
I need to think about it, and then if you could send an email to Denise and I, and then Melissa, if you could send us the letter that you have from the past, just to give us a starting point.
Sure.
I think that would be a good way to go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Melissa. And thanks, Denise and Jennifer. I think these are really good ideas. And we'll see where it takes us. And now we're ready for the director's report, which Bunny has provided to us. And Bunny, would you like to talk about that?
Just to ask if there are any questions or comments.
I had a question about the wireless logins. Are those from the library itself, or are those people logging in through their computers at home?
I have to look back at my report and see what you're referring to. Oh, you mean up in the statistics. Those are logins within the library.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question, Bunny. I was surprised to see both Gail and Judy are retiring so soon. Do you have anything planned for Judy before she leaves to let the patrons know she's retiring?
The staff is preparing something for staff. I don't think we had planned anything splashy for the public.
I just think it might be nice to let the patrons know ahead of time in case they want to thank her before she's actually gone.
So that could be something where there's like a poster. It's like a big thank you, Mrs. Carpenter, and the kids could write their names or make a little drawing or something. And, you know, thank you, Mrs. Carpenter, for 25 years from the children, you know, the Penfield Library. And, you know, it could get a big piece of poster board and people could go in and sign it. The parents could sign it. The kids could make little things. I just think that would be something nice. And it's kind of acknowledging that she's going to be leaving before somebody comes in and says, oh, where's Mrs. Carpenter? And it's like, oh, well, she's not here.
And also, like, I think this is a good opportunity to use social media sometimes, like if you post something like even pictures of her in different story times and all that stuff. Thanks for a great 25 years. I'm sure you would get like a lot of comments, not just signatures, but a lot of comments. Thank you so much. And I think she would really enjoy reading those from the people that she's helped and served.
And I bet in those social media accounts, you can even have, if someone posts pictures, I bet a lot of people have pictures of their kids at story times or other programs that she would love looking back after all the, you know, from all of those years.
Yeah, there's some program, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, that you can use. I think you can send everybody a link or something, and they can upload their photos, and it kind of stitches it all together in a video or a slideshow. I can look into that and send it to you, Bunny.
Yeah, please.
And we just did that for my brother-in-law's 50th birthday. My sister put one together. I'll find out what it is, Melissa, and tell
Okay.
you the one she used anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Niraj, I'm sorry.
No, I said Facebook, but Instagram too, because you can put comments on that too. So
you could also maybe put a little like shoebox out with some construction paper and have kids write, you know, in the children's room, little thank you notes and just drop them in and something like that.
Similar to
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, or even like the binder that you guys usually put like for the school librarians, like they can have just a simple binder and people can, and a little pencil there, and people will just write stuff. I mean, and she can have something tangible to take back.
I think she'll appreciate it, but I also think it could be kind of jarring for the children too, to come and just all of a sudden she's not there. So a little way for them to say goodbye.
Yes. And to understand that she might be back and she's happy and this is, you know, it's part of the circle of life.
Not like Mufasa.
Yeah, no. Well, we don't have to mention it quite like that, because I'm sure that there might be some who have different meanings.
And thank you, Gail, too. You do so much behind the scenes. We're not trying to overlook you. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah, I did not realize that. I thanks a lot, because you know so much, and I probably call you probably like 10 times a month, and now I have nowhere to go.
I hope somebody comes in. Are you going to be able to train your person? The
I'm
person
gonna
who
try
did-
to help her, yeah, her or him, yes,
or him, right? But whoever it is,
right.
because you are somebody who has always seemed irreplaceable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions on this, on Bunny's report? I have a question, Bunny, and it is about the Library Trustees Association and NYLA. I know
Yes.
I had asked you if when we join this year, we could all have our names and addresses on the membership like we used to have, so we get the newsletters in a timely fashion. And
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening now. I know it's February, the middle of February. We haven't gotten any communication, so I'm wondering what's been done with that.
You might remember that we have our membership as part of the consortium membership for the Monroe County Library System. They are in the process of renewing those memberships now. I've already provided, I had before anyway, provided Alicia with the new roster of our board members, so that will be incorporated into that. I've also contacted, there's a little with NYLA taking over the Library Trustees Association. One hand didn't know what the other one was doing. There was a little bit of confusion, but I contacted Colleen, the membership chair at NYLA, and I've already secured the Library Trustee Association section memberships for all of our trustees. So that's all in place when our general organizational membership gets renewed.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions about anything? No? Okay. Well, thank you, Bunny, for putting all that together for us. One of the things that is coming up this month, thanks to a list that Gail prepared, so I would know what we were supposed to be doing on a month-by-month basis, and that is the final year in budget report. And I think, and then, is that the report to the community or is that something different, Bunny?
No, that's different.
Two different things.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us a little more about what the year-end budget report is and what we should do or not do, but what we should know about it?
I don't think there's anything you should especially know about it. It's in your packet for this month. It's the typical conclusion to the previous year's budget summary.
It's this document.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then what happens to it from here?
Well, nothing. It just gets filed as part of the historical record for 2020.
Okay. Very good. The other thing, there was a suggestion that maybe we would like to meet in person, and doing that is not, it can be done. We can't meet in the library because we have to be accessible. So if we would like to meet in person, we could meet at the town hall. We would not have any public in there. We would still be televised just as we are now. And we probably wouldn't have our faces as front and center as they are because we'd all be seated around a long table. The advantage is we could actually see each other in person. The disadvantage is you'd have to leave the comfort of your home. And I'm not sure how people feel. I have checked with Dave Renner and Tony, and we found out that that this is fine. They would be happy to have us do that because there are no other meetings on the third Tuesday of the month. And when the COVID pandemic is over, we can go back and meet in the library again. And I think we'll all look forward to that. And if we meet in the Brinkman room, there's plenty of room for the public who's interested to come in and see us. But in the meantime, does anyone have any preference or any thoughts on this?
So we meet on the third Tuesday of every month. So now you were thinking of moving this location to the town hall. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay.
So Linda chimed in, which was really important. She said that it would still be recorded. So that's.
They're all recorded. They're all
Yeah.
recorded right now.
It's
It
by
doesn't
law.
matter
That
where
was
you-
the thing I sent you, that New York State,
Yes.
you know, you have to.
Yeah.
And like for me, I would not join you because I'm only gonna do Zoom. And our town board, we're only meeting on Zoom.
Yeah.
So that being said, this would still be on Zoom. So if anyone doesn't want to be in person, they could still be on Zoom. And some of you could be in person. And see, look at our town board meetings. Our town board meetings, Tony is always in the auditorium and he's with the town clerk who takes the minutes. And occasionally a town board member will show up too, but you can't have too many people. You can only have 5 people at the dais and they have to move them around if you get more people, you know? That's why if you watch it, if you get a staff member, they can't sit with the town board. They got to sit far away. It's kind of complicated. But that being said, if a few of you wanted to be live in person and then others want to be on Zoom, that's fine because it's going to be on Zoom anyway. So nobody would be left out if they didn't choose to be there in person.
Okay.
And so only 5 can meet, Linda?
Well, it was a matter of how many members of a board, and that's why I'm wondering about you guys. You're a larger board. I check into, you have to talk to Dave about how he could situate you if everybody showed up around the auditorium. It wouldn't be close. I don't think the long table would work. You have to have a couple of long tables. I don't know. There's probably a way to do it. I'm just saying, you know.
Do we want to take a chance and do that and have some of us there, some of us on Zoom? I know the big question was it going to be recorded and were the recordings going to be available for people? And yes, whatever we do, we're going to be recorded. That's just how it is. And they're going to be available to people who want to go back and review them. So whether it's in this format or whether it's a hybrid format.
It is very difficult to conduct these meetings in a hybrid format. I'll just say that from my experience with them, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I would agree. I've tried to do Girl Scout meetings before where if somebody wasn't able to make it, we had them Zoom in, and it can be done, but it's difficult. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're still being recorded and it's still going to be on Zoom, maybe we wait to meet in person then.
Okay.
I agree.
Is that the consensus? Do we want to, Melissa, do you want to make a motion that we stay with Zoom?
Sure. I guess at what point would we be able to move back to our meeting in person? Like what is?
I don't know. It depends on what happens in the state and the country. I would assume that once, like 95% of the people have their vaccinations and the transmission rate is like 0.1%, maybe we might be able to look, but I don't think that it's going to happen overnight. I think it'll be next fall.
It'll be the governor. It's the governor's decision.
Yes, but I think he looks at certain things, certain criteria. And, right now, I don't think anybody is ready to have huge gatherings. So that was, I know you had suggested the Brinkman room, but that's not an option because we have to be accessible to the public, and the public is not allowed to go in and participate in there. Plus, the room is being used to store things. So,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's where it's split in half. Half of it's for quarantining our returned materials, and the other half is storing the excess furniture to discourage, or to encourage, I should say, social distancing in the library.
Right, I don't know if we need a motion for this, if we're just gonna continue.
we're just going to continue. I guess we don't need one. We'll just go ahead and keep looking here. At some point, are we going to get another look at the website, Bunny, with the changes that have happened?
I think it's a dynamic thing, so the link that you've got will allow you to see. I'll double check on that, but I think the link is, it's to the dynamic version of the website.
Okay, great. Thank you. And name badges. Did you have a chance to talk to the staff?
I did, and as I predicted, I have some people who are quite reluctant to have their identities be quite so accessible to the wide open public. I do have a question into the Ask the HR Expert at the Regional Library Council about what kind of legalities we would face if we have people who would prefer not to have their names be out there. I know there is some law involved in that. I just wanted an expert opinion on that.
And are you part of the town?
Excuse me?
Is this part of the town?
It's the Ask the HR Expert at the Regional Library Council. I checked with the town, and she didn't come with the town HR expert. She did not come down one way or another on it. And I checked with the county library system, thinking maybe they had information about it. And again, there was no, they didn't weigh in one way or another.
If people are really concerned, I think they could have their first name and their last initial and the area in which they work.
Well, we'll see what
I think that is a courtesy to the public. I don't know that the patrons of the library are, when you talk about going out, it's not like you're working at McDonald's or someplace where you're going to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. Most people who are coming to the library, I'm sure, are not looking to be bad people. And I think it's helpful to have some indication to other people. And I would think that the safety and security of children, knowing who to go to in an emergency and to protect parents who might see their children talking to another adult, I think those factors are really probably equally, if not more important than the fact that somebody doesn't want their identity known. And I mean, if you're in a public position, most places when you face the public, you wear a name badge. And you says, hello, I'm so-and-so, how can I help you? And I think, I don't know, I don't think I'm alone in saying that this is something the board would really like to see. And I'm very disappointed that this is how it's turned out, Bunny.
I agree. I think I think having a name badge, whether it just even the first name, is very comforting. And if a person is really afraid of the identity of a first name, they can pick a pseudo name. They can pick a stage name like Violet or something or whatever. But there's something and anything. But I think a way for my kids or anyone to say that, you know what, Violet or Niraj told me this. It's a good way to kind of have some direction.
Yeah, that's part of my question into the HR expert. Are we satisfying the request if we have an alias? The other thing is we do wear badges right now that identify our functions. So no one should have any question about whether
These would be badges that are actually readable. A lot of times people might have a badge on and it's flipped over. So nobody even knows what their function is.
Well,
so I want to have something that is like a square, very similar to our outdoor sign with the logo, and like Bunny B, Library Director, or Judy C, Children's Librarian. So you have something where people actually know who to talk to on different issues in the library.
And it's professional, and
very
it's professional. It's satisfying too. I was a page at the Penfield Library years ago, and I remember we had name tags too at that time, and we were kids. It's just you know what, you get your first job and all that stuff. You're a librarian. People go from the circulation desk to be a librarian. It's a proud moment, and it's a way to identify. It's very professional.
Yes, but we would not put pages' names on there because
That's
they're
fine.
still
I
children.
understand. Yes, but I'm just telling you
that they're kind of grown up, but I still think of them as children. So they could just have page. But I'm thinking of something that's a rigid plastic that has a magnet, and it really would be a very professional looking thing, rather than something where they can flip it around if they don't want people to see who they are.
That they will be on lanyards. Nobody wants anything affixed to their clothing.
You know, I think we should continue this discussion another time.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what their reasons are. Excuse me, Barbara.
Go ahead.
What's the staff's reluctance about having badges with their names on them, or whatever?
I know two things. I know we think everybody that comes into the library has good intentions, but that's not true. I've been stalked, so have a couple of my colleagues here, and I have worked with people at the Rochester Public Library who were stalked. I wasn't stalked until my name appeared on a badge I was required to wear at Rochester Public Library. It only took that little, especially with the internet available now, it only took that little bit of information and a little bit of nosing around that people without good intentions can do to find out just enough to be able to track you down on the internet and stalk you. So we don't mind nice people knowing who we are. We would prefer to control that and not wear some sign that advertises something that's giving a not nice person an entree into possibly making our lives miserable.
I think a lot of people, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we have any data from how other libraries do it. Do other libraries in the Monroe County system wear name tags? Wear name badges?
I can check in. I can check into that. I can ask my fellow directors. I know we were required to at Rochester Public. I don't know what it is at all the individual member libraries of the Monroe County Library System, but I can check on that.
And your stalking incident happened when you worked at the Rochester Public Library?
Yes.
I want to just agree with Niraj here, and that with children in the library, knowing who is who's working there and having contact with your kids is really an important aspect to your comfort level and in visiting the library.
I think so too. I was thinking of it like Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers. And if you're a 3 or 4-year-old and somebody's making you feel uncomfortable, who are you going to go to? You're going to go to somebody who's wearing something that's distinctive, and you can go there and say, there's somebody. I don't like that woman, I don't like that man, or whatever, however they articulate that somebody is making them feel uncomfortable. And you know, to me, that is far outweighs the staff saying, oh, I really don't want people to know who I am.
Do you know there's currently a staff page for the Penfield Public Library that lists every single staff member's first and last name and their specialty?
It lists our names, but it does not associate the name with the person.
It does on the page I'm looking at. It has aides and clerks. It might not be updated, but it has children's librarian. It has everybody's name and title. I can send you the link if you.
It does, but it doesn't have the individual pictures of us associated with it.
Yeah, there's a big staff picture, but it doesn't identify the names of the.
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of extending to people who come in the library, no matter who they are, or a feeling of friendship or customer service by having them wear a badge? I'm just curious.
Well, just to straighten this out, we wear badges now. They just don't have our names on them. People don't really need to know our names for us to effectively do our job. So I don't see a problem with having an alias on people just want a name to associate with you. We could have an alias on our badges. But I do want to just check on that to be sure that I'm not violating any rights of the staff to protect their own privacy and
the rights of the children who come in who might need help. And I think that should be a concern of yours also. It should be a major concern. And the way those little things are now, no one can tell. Anyone can wear a lanyard. Not everybody can have a little thing with their name and the area.
Well, we are wearing a distinctive badge. It's distinctive from anybody else's, as far as I know. I've never seen one like it. And so people should be able to tell that we are associated with the library when they see that.
I've never seen one facing forward. They've all been
distinctive on both sides.
I was there just recently, and I did notice Peggy was wearing the lanyard, which I honestly hadn't noticed anyone wearing them the past few times I had been in, so I did appreciate seeing her with the lanyard. But I do think having the name, it just makes everybody seem a little more accessible and less of kind of a barrier between you and the patrons.
Yes, I do think the barrier attitude is something that is coming up that I'm feeling very uncomfortable about the staff. I mean, and why they are reacting so in this way.
Like when I go to
look out for the security of children.
And if we go back, I mean, what did we spend all this time about our brand and our tagline? How may we help you? How can we help you? It's just a little bit more like we should always have that customer focus in the back of our mind. If we really meant what we said, how may we help you and all that stuff, and have that type of relationship. It's nice when I go to the post office and I see the names on the post office people. You can greet them. It's just it's a better function. And having a lanyard next to your belly button or something when you're talking to a person at face level, and then seeing the name over here is just more effective, I think.
I have a 16-year-old daughter who works at Wegmans, and I'm a pretty overprotective parent. I never gave it a second thought that she would have her name, and she has a very unique name. So I would always have thought that she would have to have a name badge on, because to identify her as an employee and for someone to be able to ask her a specific question if they needed to. I just feel like in this time and place in our society that it's important to identify who is supposed to be doing what in the building. in a public place. It's the public
We
library.
have now. Yeah, which we have now on our badges.
Well, I don't think that they're as effective as they could be. So I think we're going to have to look at something else. We could.
Linda, does the town employees wear badges? Or do you know, do they wear lanyards or badges, or do they wear name tags?
No,
The only time I've seen that the town employees wearing badges are the ones that go out into the community that have to do code enforcement or something. Then they need to have the public be able to identify them as legitimately representing the town. But I checked with Tracy on this and she said, no, they're not required to wear name badges.
Really?
It's interesting.
Do you wear a name badge,
realize
Linda,
there's
when you
not a
go
lot of
out?
customer service there. You know, it's different than the library. The townhouse staff, I mean, there's a very small group of people. They're sitting behind plexiglass, and you get your permits and so on like that. There's not, you know, library is different because you're all walking around and talking to people. It's a little, it's I don't know. You can't really compare it too much. I don't think, you know.
Do you wear a name badge for the town when you go out?
I have one. I don't have to wear it. I sometimes wear it. Yeah. We were all given lanyards years ago, and that was a thing for a while, but no, I have a badge, but you know, how often when I go out, most of my meetings would be like individually with a person that's asked to meet with me, and I don't need to wear a badge if they know who I am. I'm there anyway, you know.
But if you're going to an event and you
Yeah,
don't know people,
exactly.
you put one on then?
Often.
Bonnie, how many of the staff out of everybody would you say are concerned about this? Is it a lot of the staff, or is it just
Half,
one or
about
two?
half.
Or
Half the staff.
And they're concerned for the same reason you are about being stalked or identified, that kind of thing?
Yes.
I see.
And you don't think this could happen in any other circumstance? Like, you know, you put your credit card in at a gas station, somebody can rip off your number and you never, I mean, you're taking your chances wherever you go if you use something electronic. I don't see any difference between that. I wear a badge for my job. If I'm going out and meeting with a group of people or going to an event, I put on my badge and I'm happy to wear it.
And we wear our badges too when we're out on the floor.
Well, yes, but they are not things that signify you as an employee. That's what I'm trying to say. Whatever that is, I have not seen anything that signifies that someone is an employee. And
It says Penfield Public Library and it tells our function right on it.
They've all been flipped around and I've only seen the back side that's white. And
which is
it's on both sides, then somebody has covered up their backside, and I have only seen the white side on somebody's lanyard. So,
it isn't white. The backside has our brand personality on it. So that also is.
I've just seen white. It's like somebody has covered it up.
No, no one's covered it up. I don't know what you've seen.
Well, I have not seen anything with the brand personality or anybody's function. I've just seen the white.
I don't know what you've been looking at, but that's what our badges look like.
Well, I think we need to hear from your person in HR, and I think we need to also talk to Tracy in HR again at the town and find out if there is a position from the town. Because
you can ask her again. I've asked her, and I know you've asked her.
I just would go back to the employees and ask them about children and the safety and security of children in the library, and giving children a place, the knowledge that they can go to somebody who's actually wearing something that they can see that's different. You might say it's there and you know what it is. I've been in there and I've seen things, but I have never seen anybody's name or title or anything on a lanyard. So we've obviously not.
No, you haven't. No.
So
Name is not
I
there.
think that the most important thing is the safety and security of children who come in there with or without their parents. And I'm sorry, but to me that trumps somebody's, feeling like there might be something. And I'm sorry that half the staff feels like that is not important.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Isn't the library, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if I've focused in on it in a while, is the library designated as a safe place with
Yes.
that little?
It is a safe zone
So
place.
is there any guidelines or recommendations along with that? I would think with being a safe place, how would people I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. If something happened and they walked in there and didn't know is there anything in line with that we have to have identification somehow or make themselves known? Like, how does that work? Is there anything in line with being a safe place?
I can look into that. If it does, we are wearing our badges that identify us as employees of Penfield Public Library. And we have our function on it, and we on the reverse side, we have the brand personality. We can make it so both sides are function.
I just prefer the name tag. It's just,
Well, I think we all prefer the name tag, and I think that we voted on that at one point.
It is actually it's an operational item.
No, it's a branding personality item. It's a strategic thing.
Okay, but it is an operational thing.
It's strategic. We all want to be part of the brand personality.
It's a touch
Have
point.
that on our
It is a touch point. Yes.
head.
Okay, I think we need to move on. Was this your night, Brett, to do no, it was Megan. You were the
vouchers, yes.
voucher person.
Yep, so let me just pull up the number here. I went in and did that yesterday. So I scroll.
Last page.
Thank you. So I move that we approve the payment of vouchers in the amount of $17,351.46.
Is there a second? Thank you, Rachel. And we need to appoint our auditor for next month. And Brett, this is your lucky day. You get to do that. We're going to go alphabetically. If you need help in figuring out what to do, you can count on Gail. You can count on Megan. You can count on me. You could count on Niraj. We'd all be happy to help you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara, I think we all have to vote on that. I seconded, but we didn't.
We didn't vote. Okay. Can we all vote on Megan's motion to approve the covering the vouchers? Okay. Thank you very much. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
are we doing the Brady Bunch picture?
Yeah.
We're good at Brian. Are you still there? Can you do the Brady Bunch picture after we adjourn?
I need to crop my receding hairline. Hold up.
Yes, I can. Why don't we get off the air and I can do that for you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? Somebody must want to. Yes, thank you, Melissa. How about a second? Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.